So you started doing music in what year?
In 87.
87.
Started doing music.
Before you shot yourself?
Yeah, way before. Yeah, 87. Me and my bro, man, Gangster, he eventually became a part of the group, the Conrads.
Okay.
But me and Gangster, you know, we used to all go to the studio, man, with, you know, Mixmaster Spade, rest in peace. You know, that was one of the first persons that put me in the studio in 87.
Okay.
And after the incident, what happened with me, my boy Lee in Compton, you know, I wanted to get into music because I never played sports. So music became my sports. So I used to tell Lee, that's back when we used to record on a 4-track. You know, you had the track, the vocal, the hook, and whatever else. That was all you had.
Yeah.
And on cassette tapes. So Leon Haywood, the great Leon Haywood, man, you know, he became my godfather. But Dre used his beat for G-Thang. You know, he was an R&B singer, classic, old school cat, man. Foxy Brown used this record for Bad Mama Jama. You know, yeah, Leon, the great Leon Haywood, and we made a demo and we took it to him because he had just put out the Batarang for Tidy T. You know, the Batarang had just came out, and you know he was still looking for artists. Banging on Wax, they all used Ronnie Phillips. They used his studio to record Banging on Wax, the first project and the second project when they redid it and reconnected. And he heard the tape and he was like, well, I want to put you in the studio. And from there, man, we, you know, was in the studio right there in LA off Crenshaw and Rodeo. We was, you know, was there, and that was in like right after the riots, you know, in 92, 93. Yeah, in 93, we started going up there and putting the album together. And, you know, back then people was using drum machines, but my album that came out, we put a maxi single out in 94 and had 4 songs on it. And then we put the album out in 95, a self-titled album, Suicide, and the leading single was Final Exit. And Final Exit, like, really exploded. And that album, you know, the maxi single had took off overseas. So since like 93, I've had a fan base, you know, all overseas. Still do to this day.
You were gonna sign the Ruthless?
Yeah, I was finna sign with Easy before Easy passed.
Yeah.
Because I had wrote some songs for Easy. I don't know if he ever used them, but I had wrote like about 4 records for Easy. And we gave them to him, you know, the actual lyrics. I used to be at the Ruthless radio show, used to be at the studio in Torrance all the time, and we was getting ready to put a deal together, and, you know, God bless his soul, you know, things transpired and happened the way it did, but definitely. And then I was also working with Big Jess and Droop out of LA, Executive Entertainment, and that's when I ended up going to Japan. I toured to Japan, you know, with my Wonder Why album that came out in 99. And that album right now today is still a classic. The 95 album is still a classic. And, oh, yeah.
They say you sounded like Brother Lin Chung on your records.
Huh?
They say you would sound like Brother Lin Chung on your records.
I never heard that one before. Who I was always compared to, because I was finna sign with, I was also gonna sign with Rap-A-Lot.
Oh, from
through
Texas?
Mike Mack,
Texas?
Because I used to be in Houston a lot. You know, I used to do a lot of music in Houston, but the only reason I didn't sign with Rap-A-Lot because they compared me and Scarface similarities. You know, so Jay Prince, they didn't want it would have seemed like they brought somebody on the label to compete with an artist on the label. Yeah. But Brother Lin Chung, I never heard, but Face, we've always been compared to each other.
Okay. What was the context of your rap?
I mean, my life, you know, like shit I've been through, you know, from being homeless, from shooting myself to robbing, stealing, like
reality,
real shit. And when that album came out in 95, I was 25 and I was still in the streets, heavy gangbanging. I just came from, you know, doing something wrong and be in the studio recording, you know.
Drop a track, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now they go to the studio and they say those stories, but they didn't come back from doing any of that.
Yeah.
fucked up, you know what I mean?
It's different.
Yeah, it's different now. You know,
It's
don't wait, I
different.
ain't knocking nobody, but it is what it is.
I don't either. I'm not
They getting
nobody,
busted
man.
for jaywalking ticket. Every time they get a jaywalking ticket, some rap blog puts them on there. Oh, they're busted, free so and so. They got a jaywalk ticket.
It's crazy. I mean, well, you got to realize a lot of the things now that we see is based around the internet. See, we didn't have internet back then. You know, it wasn't no internet, so it wasn't people running and putting posts up and different things like that. So it's a big difference, you know, from then to now.
Even in the mid 2000s, like 2007, you know, I used to be on the internet back then, and there'd be like the events you would go to, like say, like now you go to the shows and you're watching it live from the house.
Yep.
But in those times, like 07, you would go to the events and shows, but you wouldn't be able to read about it until the next day.
Yeah.
Like on the forums.
Yeah.
Or like the Reddits, but they weren't called Reddits back then, but they were like forums.
Yeah.
You know. And you would go and you would post about what happened the day before, and then you would upload the videos to YouTube. There's no live. So somebody would have to do all the uploading work. That's what I used to do.
Yeah.
You know, so now you get it all in real time.
In real time, yeah.
You know, so
live.
You can imagine from the 90s, it went from not hearing about it at all, only about rumors in the streets, to mid 2000s where the next day or a couple days later you would read it on the forums, to now it's all in your face.
It went from you got mail.
Remember that? Yeah.
To about 30 phones.
I feel like we're just living, though. I feel like now it's like it's pressured upon an artist, since they know they're on camera, they got to do something bad to get their fame up, or they got to do something stupid. But we were just living. You know what I'm saying? There was none of that to chase that. Whatever we did, it was because that's what it was. Now people will be like, oh shit, I'm on camera, I'm this rapper, I got to do something, because if I don't, then my image is...
And now you out of here because they got about 30 phones that recorded everything.
Yeah, and they feel like they got to do that. Just rap, bro. You know what I mean? But
everybody want to be a killer. You know?
Like,
and if you added up everybody that said they killed somebody in a rap song, it wouldn't be nobody alive to listen to the music.
That's crazy, huh? Yeah, facts.
Yes,
very true.
Different. In the 80s, when you first came out, who was your influences? Did you like bump like Above the Law, like stuff like that?
I mean, well, we all used to listen to each other music, but I've never had a music influence. My OGs was my influence. Okay. You know, because them was the cats that really inspired me when I was 8, you know, seeing them outside with the pretty women, the bunch of money and cars, just that fancy lifestyle, man. I was so impressed by that.
Yeah, I liked Above the Law. Remember them? They were tight. They were from like the 80s.
They're from Ruthless.
Yeah,
they were from Ruthless.
Yeah,
okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Cocaine.
Yeah, he was from back then too. Yeah, a lot of people don't know
King
that.
T, you know. Oh yeah, yeah. Tidy T back then, you know.
Yeah, that was the first. I like what was it called? The California one, California by Above the Law.
Yeah,
that shit's tight. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
it's like a slow beat. Didn't have a bass, you know. They didn't have like the big drums, but it was dope. Those classic.
Did you ever try to tap in with Death Row at that time?
No, I've done a bunch of shows with Death Row though. Yeah, you know, because my boy Cat out of Fruit Town, he used to, you know, throw a lot of shows, and Death Row would be performing, and he would always have me, you know, come perform at the events. Cause I remember he had a pager shop in Compton.
Yeah.
And, you know, he did a big show at the pager shop in Compton, and, you know, I performed. A lot of cats from Death Row performed, so it was nice.
You ever meet Pop?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. My homie, man, rest in peace, Big C. Toss It Up. You know the dude play Biggie?
Oh, yeah.
He from my neighborhood. That's my bro, shit. Big C, rest in peace.
In the music video.
Yeah, he played Biggie in the video. Yeah, that's Big Bro right there. That's Big C.
Damn, so you met Pac. What was that like? Like, was he already big?
Yeah.
He was already like big time.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's just I don't look at nobody as far as like in a groupie way. I just look at it like
that's another man.
This somebody, you know, he made it. He made it out. He accomplished his goals. He achieved his goals, what he wanted out of life. And that's a statement.
Hell yeah, it is.
Yeah, he was big time. I mean,
oh yeah, for sure.
It's crazy to think that what it would be like if he was still around to this day. You know,
music would be different.
I think so too.
He definitely be dissing a lot of people for sure.
You think so? Still
Oh,
at
for
this
sure.
age?
Pac could still be dissing, man.
Yeah, I think he would have owned a record label and got artists that really could spit like that. You know, like not do the whole camera thing, but guys that could spit. He'd probably have them dissing. Like, you know, he get the best dudes because he would know what it was like to get the right rappers in the same group, like they did with the Dog Pound, like Eazy-E did with all his people. Like, those were like a conglomerate record labels.
But you remember he had a group, Edie. You know, he had a group, Big Sight.
Yeah, Big Sight was hard.
Thug Life, right?
Thug Life, yeah.
Things were different back then. They weren't just signing you or working with you because of, you know,
it was talent.
Yeah, it was talent.
Yeah, not
now
viral moments.
It's numbers.
Yeah.
It's a numbers game now. And I ain't mad at it being a numbers game. You know, things change, man. It's a different time. You know, just like cats that make music, man, I don't knock nobody that make music because it may not be for me, but they got a fan base.
Yeah,
you know,
down the line,
everybody got a fan base for whatever genre of music they make. Whether, you know, like cats be like, oh man, I don't mess with the mumble rappers, but man, they got a fan base. They got people that listen to them. You know, this demographic got people that everybody got their own demographic. You just stay in your lane. You know, it's when I see cats, especially in my age bracket, trying to sound like these young cats. I be confused. I'm discombobulated. Like, you're going backwards.
Yeah, you got to stay with
How you 50 trying to sound like you 13 or 15?
Could you do it?
What?
The mumble rap?
No, I'm not, I mean, that's not me.
Yeah.
I would be trying to mimic something that I'm not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, definitely I couldn't do it. I wouldn't even try it.
Yeah, it'd be fake.
That's crazy, though, to try to do mumble rap.
No, but people do it.
But you got to realize this. They're inspired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They get inspired. Every genre of music inspires somebody.
Or they're chasing clout.
Some people chase clout and some people be inspired.
You know.
Yeah. It's like a mix.
Oh, yeah.